What happens is, even though he's logged on the Zoom over there, it connects this way so everyone can kind of see. And I think the TV remote, the TV is like on mute or whatever.
Maybe I'll go talk to him and see what he's doing, because the key will just be, I figured out how to, we've done hybrid Zoom.
Even though he's logged on the Zoom over there, it connects this way so everyone
Oh,
can
that's
kind of
this,
see.
hold on.
The TV remote.
That's the live stream playback. We've done hybrid. Remember the few times I've had to pull somebody into custody, I set my phone here so you all could see the courtroom. But what I didn't have was a microphone for the person at the podium. So nobody could hear what that person was saying, because I had to kill both the speaker and the mic on my phone that was up on the bench. So you could see what was going on, but that's what. So in civil, I think I'm going to have the in-person folks come up to the bench, and I'll have an iPad with the microphone and speaker killed so they can see the lawyer who's on Zoom. We'll be able to share the microphone that's here. But for drug court, I don't know that I want each and every participant to come up to the bench. So I need to figure out how to do it at the podium and whether, how I can do that, but I'll see what McPhee's doing. I wanted to play with it a little bit today. I don't know if you guys are there. It's probably still too close. We'll probably fight each other. But, okay, all right. Yes. I was going to do it after court. I just wanted to experiment a little bit and see with microphones and speakers.
I was in Judge McPhee's court, and the state and the defense had the laptop on Zoom.
Right.
And it wasn't
fighting
affecting each other. And we had it on the screen. Everybody was on the screen, like, you know, we're going to go with this, but it wasn't affecting each other.
What would be good is if the mic is okay to leave on and you just kill the speaker on yours, because you don't need the speaker on yours, but we need your mic. And I think that might be what he's doing, but that was the experiment I wanted to run. If the clerk doesn't need it, that's added. But again, I don't think you would need the speaker or the mic, so except for occasionally swearing people in. All right, well, we'll keep thinking on it. It is 10, so if we want to go ahead and go on the record, I actually got the computer up and live stream and everything. So
On the record now.
you want to connect the jail for us? I think this will be our last masked proceeding, hopefully.
NJC, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Drug Court. I'm Judge Martin. Ms. Farrell, for the state, you want to call the docket?
All three of the cases on the docket today, all three defendants are claimed in some form. My understanding from DLC was that they were asking to take the out of custody first, they're showing them unusual, but they're expecting him there for treatment.
Okay.
I don't know if we can do that. It's not over to jail.
Mr. Victoria's probably.
Why don't we do Mr. Victoria real quickly, and then Mr. Catton and Ms. Muzenga? We'll be fast on Mr. Victoria. Mr. Victoria, you want to come on up? How are you doing this morning? Good. And this is Christian Victoria, pages 2 and 3, 20 CF 505, 20 CF 506, 20 CF 516. Violation of probation. I think you all said we have a resolution this morning.
Yes. Mr. Victoria, do you have a certificate there to hold up for us? Yeah.
All right, congratulations.
Good job. Yes, Judge, he's going to be entering an admission to the violation of probation. He is going to be sentenced to time served. He will be adjudicated guilty, so there will be, actually there's no drug suspension, it's not a drug charge, but he's going to be adjudicated guilty. PD costs, state attorney costs.
Across all counts, all cases?
Yep.
And there's also a civil lien term.
Civil lien.
Yes, Your Honor, the restitution was not paid at all.
What that means, Christian, that restitution's still out there. It's like a civil judgment, like if you have credit card money or something like that, they can't lock you up or put you in jail, but the people could try and collect from you. There's really nothing to be done about that other than paying it.
Is that in all cases as well, or is there a specific case
Alright.
that they're looking?
I have 3 different civil liens.
Okay.
In 505, there's $30 to the confidential victim. In 506, there's $245 to the confidential victim. In 516, there's $2,300.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Victoria, did you understand all the terms and conditions being described for your violation here?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to accept those and resolve all 3 of these cases this way today?
Yes, sir.
Would you raise your right hand to be sworn in, please?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, the state attorney's going to ask you some questions to qualify the admission.
Sir, can you please state your full name and date of birth?
Christian Alexis Victoria, 110498.
What are the last 4 digits of your social security number, please?
42, or 7942.
Mr. Victoria, where were you born?
Pleas, New York.
Do you have any issues reading or writing in English?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you move that microphone a little bit closer for her, please?
I don't want to.
Yeah.
No way. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have any issues reading or writing in English?
No.
Do you suffer from any mental health conditions?
No.
At this time, are you under the influence of any alcohol? Are you on any medication prescribed to you by a doctor? Are you on anything that's not prescribed? And Mr. Victoria, you have probationary cases, 3 of them. The first would be 20 CF 505. You're previously placed on probation for illegal use of a credit card, providing false information to a pawnbroker, and dealing in stolen property. Is that correct?
Yes.
You understand that both the illegal use of a credit card and providing false info are 3rd-degree felonies, meaning you could have been sentenced up to 5 years in state prison for violating your probation on those charges?
Yes.
You understand you could have been sentenced up to 15 years in prison for the dealing? You understand that?
Yes.
In case number 20 CF 506, you were placed on probation for illegal use of credit card and providing false information. Fraudulent use of personal information. Is that correct?
Yes.
You understand both of those are 3rd-degree felonies that carry a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison?
Yes.
Finally, in case number 20 CF 516, also a count of fraudulent use of personal identification information that carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. You remember being placed on probation for that count as well?
Yeah.
Were all the
Yes.
were all the terms and conditions of your probation in each case explained to you by your probation officer?
Yes.
Do you understand all those terms and conditions?
Yes.
Do you admit to violating 2 condition 5s of that probation by being arrested for driving on a suspended license back on November 15th, 2020,
Yes.
as well as testing positive for cocaine on January 25th, 2021?
Yes.
Have you read a copy of an admission form?
Yes.
Do you understand all the rights you're giving up by admitting that you violated your probation?
Yes.
You understand that you're giving up your right to have a hearing to make the state prove that you did in fact violate your probation by the right of way of the evidence? You understand you're giving up your right to see the witnesses testify for the state and have your attorney question them on your behalf?
Yes.
You understand you're giving up your right to present any witnesses or any defenses you may have had to the violation?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the advice you received from Mr. Darrow in your violations?
Yes.
You understand if you're not a U.S. citizen, each of these violations could be used against you in a deportation proceeding?
Yes.
And also that if you have been in the past or are in the future convicted of any sort of sexually violent or motivated offense, that these admissions could be used against you in what's called an involuntary civil commitment proceeding, should you qualify under the statute as a sexually violent predator. Do you understand that warning?
Yes.
Mr. Bureau, has someone from your office gone over all of the allegations contained in the violation of probation affidavit in each case?
Yes, I personally. focusing about all of them. In jail, live, which was nice.
Mr. Victoria, did you go over a copy of your score sheet with Mr. Darrow as well?
Yes.
And that has your current charges as well as all your misdemeanor priors. Do you remember going over that?
Yes.
And do you agree to everything that's on the score sheet?
Yes.
And do you also agree that your total sentencing points, absent a plea agreement, would have opened you up to a mandatory sentence of 12.9 months in Florida State Prison?
Yes.
You understand that based on the plea agreement, you're getting time served because you've served what the terms of the plea were already. You understand that?
Yes.
You also understand that you're being adjudicated on each and every one of these counts now, so you're going to become a multi-time convicted felon. You understand that as well?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would tender the admissions. I have the score sheet as well as all of the settlements.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Victoria, I will accept your admission on all counts, all cases, revoke the probation that I placed you on when we brought you into drug court, and resentence you as follows. It'll be the same sentence on each of the felony counts, each case, all running concurrently. On each count, you'll be adjudicated guilty, sentenced to the time that you have served, which I've been told is the equivalent of what the guideline sentence would have been. Is that correct?
Actually, no,
A bit more than the lowest end guideline sentence. Okay. I'll also impose on each case $100 each for the prosecution and defense of this matter, and will impose the civil liens for the restitution, $30 in case 505, $245 in case 506, and $2,300 in case 516. Do you have any questions, Mr. Victoria? Okay, Mr. Victoria, you're all set. Good luck. Yes, give me just a second to check the judgment. Okay, yep, you can scroll down, please. Okay, good. Okay. And you don't have to have the lien amount, just the note that it was made in order?
Yes.
Good, good. Okay, final case. Okay, I approve. Give me just a moment to sign those. My favorite thing to do is to find all the confidential stuff and then forget to sign it. A little Easter egg hunt that goes horribly wrong every time. Okay, Mr. Darrow, you confirmed a moment ago 45.3 total sentence points, so 12.975 is the lowest permissible prison sentence and 40 years as the maximum.
That's correct. The state had submitted a new score sheet. They didn't actually get my system, so I went with the old one.
Okay. So time. And the fact that we're not at least sending him to Department of Corrections to let them do the math is the terms of a plea bargain, considering his project recovery and his efforts with us.
Totally irrelevant.
Yes. I do like to make sure it's accurate though, because that'll be the starting point for a subsequent case. Heaven help us, there better not be another subsequent case. Okay. All right, and now I think we are ready for Mr. Catton. And do we have Ms. Muzenga in the jail courtroom?
Your Honor, I will let you know that Ms. Muzinga is in a red zone, so she's not allowed out of her cell without prior permission from our administration.
Huh. Okay.
That's right. No, it's,
So are we going to take her plea today?
I just found out about it yesterday, the possibility that there was going to be some subsequent testing.
Okay.
So I don't know if I guess that could be going well. I don't know if there's, honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Let me reach out.
That's fine. It at least answers my initial question, which is, can she be listening in while I talk to Mr. Catton and go over all the rules? The answer to that is no.
If we are going to do a plea, can we get her in front of the court today at all, or is that not even possible?
I'm not told our admin, I don't know, we can ask, but I think that what they want is you guys to ask first. I don't fully.
Let me see if we have a place for her to go. So,
Yeah, Janice is on the Zoom with me. I don't know if you want to talk to Janice.
I do.
All right, well, Janice Rex is going to reach out. We'll see what we need to do on Ms. Muzenga.
Potential issue, but there was going to be some
And I don't know how long she'll be on the status either.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I don't know how long she'll be on this status either.
Right. Well, if there's a status, it makes me suspect that we also don't want to bring her out into contact with our team on Monday. So
They won't. Yeah, they won't. I don't think they'll bring her to you in person. She would probably have to be in here in full PPE, but because of HIPAA laws, I don't fully know why she's.
that's okay. I don't want to break any HIPAA laws. I'm just indicating. I also probably for the same reason don't want to bring her into our drug court bubble either.
Based on my knowledge, David Warren Center would not be able to do her.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on the team is going to be able to. I don't want to bring somebody out into a quarantine. They can quarantine where they are, unfortunately. So I'll let you all talk about that by email while I'm talking to Mr. Catton, and jail, no worries. We'll figure it out.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll let you guys go ahead and hang up then. And Mr. Catton's with us on, have a good one, 20 CF 1637, account of possession, third degree felony, account of paraphernalia, first degree misdemeanor. Ms. Farrell, I'll let you take it from there.
He's going to enter a plea to both charges as charged. As to the paraphernalia, he's going to receive time served till he adjudicated both counts. As to the possession, he'll be sentenced to 4 years of state probation, the first 2 of which will be served on drug offender probation. Terms of the probation will be successfully completed in drug court. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfews. Recovery support group meetings if ordered to do so by his case manager, and providing the case manager with truthful reaction sheets if directed to do so. Following all recommendations from his clinical assessment. Subject to testing for alcohol, controlled substances, and unapproved medications at a minimum of 1 time per week by treatment and 1 time per week by probation. No possession or consumption of alcohol, no frequenting any places that primarily sell or serve alcohol. Mandatory 6-month driver's license revocation as a result of the application of possession charge, as the felony possession charge. Court costs, $100 cost of prosecution, any public defender fees, as well as $635 cost of investigation to the sheriff.
And Judge, public defender fees in this case are actually $179.30 because we did spend $79.30 in actual costs.
Okay.
And the only other caveat, Judge, is he does have a pending driving with license suspended. He's going to resolve that in misdemeanor court. He offers just an adjudication, a fine, and time served. So
Okay.
I did represent to him that nothing that happens, as long as that's what happens, actually anything that happens in there would not be a ground to violate.
Right.
Short of not showing up or something like that. Would not be a ground to violate him on that. I also did look and he was concerned that he had court tomorrow. That appears to me to be this case. And I told him if he resolved it here today, he would not need to worry about it tomorrow.
Okay. I can just double check that real quickly. That.
And I did confirm that, I was hoping we could possibly resolve them at misdemeanor, but I don't think that the proper legwork was
Right. Yeah.
is completed at this point.
Yeah. 6/18 was the notice for Judge Foster, so that's fine. That'll disappear.
You don't need to be there tomorrow. You do need to be there on the dates I gave you, but also call the misdemeanor attorney.
Okay. And so, Mr. Darrow, with the adjustment of the PD fee, was everything else accurate that Ms. Farrell recited?
Correct. And he's ready to sign the contract.
Okay, very good.
Yes, I know. We form he's ready to sign the plea form. And we also reviewed the score sheet. And that's it.
Isn't it nice to all be in the same room?
It makes it honestly 1 million times easier.
The things we used to take for granted, we won't again. Mr. Catton, you said I'm pronouncing that correctly? Okay, well, good morning again. Did you understand everything the attorneys have just explained to me?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you want to accept those terms and resolve this case this way by coming into drug court? Would you raise your right hand to be sworn, please?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you give shall be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. The state attorney is going to ask you some questions.
Sir, can you please state your full name and date of birth?
John Christian Patton, 5/11/19,
What's the last word of your social security number?
9452.
And Mr. Catton, where are you born?
Washington, Washington.
Okay, so that means that you are fluent in both writing and reading and speaking English, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You suffer from any mental health conditions?
No, ma'am.
Are you under the influence of any alcohol at this time?
Yes,
Are you taking any medication as prescribed to you by a physician?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that medication, are you taking that medication exactly as you're supposed to?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it have any side effects that affect your ability to understand what's happening here today at all?
No, ma'am.
And are you taking anything that's not prescribed to you?
No, ma'am.
In case number 20 CF 1637, you are currently charged with possession of a controlled substance and possession of paraphernalia. Possession of controlled substance is a third-degree felony. It carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in state prison should you violate your probation, and the paraphernalia carries a maximum penalty of 1 year in the county jail. You wish to plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest to those 2 counts.
You plead no contest.
Okay, no.
We'll show no contest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have you read and signed this plea form that Mr. Darrow provided to me?
I did.
And is that your signature in 2 places on the back of the form?
It is.
Did you understand all the rights that are listed on the front of the form that you're giving up by entering the plea here today?
I do.
You understand that as a result of your entering a no contest plea, there will be no trial?
I do.
You understand that by giving up that right, you're giving up your right to make the state prove that you are guilty of both your charges beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury?
I do.
You understand you're giving up your right to see the witnesses testify for the state, the evidence presented in both the witnesses and the evidence questioned on your behalf by your attorney?
I do.
Understand you're giving up your right to present any witnesses in your own defense,
I do.
as well as to become a witness if you chose to do so and testify and tell your side of the story at the trial. You understand that?
I do.
Understand you're also giving up your right if you chose to be silent during the trial, and the jury would be instructed that that was not to be held against you. You understand that as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And finally, you understand that you're giving up your right to file any motions that would have suppressed the evidence in this case. Have you had an opportunity to discuss all those rights and everything about this case with your attorney?
I did.
Are you satisfied with their advice?
I am.
Mr. Darrow, is anybody, yourself or anybody from your office reserving any matters for appeal on this case?
No.
And Mr. Catton, I have a copy of your score sheet. Have you had an opportunity to go over that with your attorney?
I did.
You have quite a bit of priors out of Washington State, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you will agree that your total sentencing points are 44.6, which means absent this plea agreement and you're qualifying for drug court, you would have been looking at a lowest permissible prison sentence of 12.4 months. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Has anybody forced you, coerced you, or threatened you in any way to get you to enter a plea?
No.
Anybody promised you anything other than the plea agreement terms?
No.
And are you claiming because you believe it's in your best interest to do so?
Yes.
You understand if you're not a U.S. citizen, the plea could be used against you in deportation proceedings? And also that if you have been in the past or are in the future convicted of any sort of sexually violent or motivated offense, this plea could be used against you in what's called an involuntary civil commitment proceeding, should the state seek to commit you if you qualified under the statute as a sexually violent predator. Do you understand that, Maureen? Mr. Darrow, we stipulate the factual basis and venue for purposes of the plea.
Yes.
And finally, Mr. Catton, you understand that as a statutory requirement for anybody convicted of a drug charge, there will be a 6-month driver's license
I
verification.
do.
You understand that that may be in addition to the status of your current suspension, meaning if you're currently suspended for a year, it could lead to an 18-month suspension. You understand that? Okay, Your Honor, I would tender the plea.
Okay, All right, Mr. Ketton, I have read your file. I find there's a factual basis for your plea. I find that you freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived your rights. You've knowingly entered this plea with a full understanding of the consequences. I'll accept your plea, adjudicate you guilty of both counts. On count 2, the first-degree misdemeanor, I'll sentence you simply to the time you've already served and impose any mandatory court costs that go with that charge. Then on the main charge that is bringing you into drug court, the possession charge, I'll adjudicate you guilty, place you on 4 years of state probation, the first 2 years of which will be drug offender probation. You'll have a special condition to comply with and successfully complete the drug court program. What that means is that everything that you read in our handbook, everything I specifically announced today, and everything treatment directs you to do along the way is all part of your probation that I will enforce. Do you understand that? Okay. Specifically today, I'm going to start with a curfew. You'll have a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That means you'll have to be at the address that you register with probation, get there no later than 10 at night, stay there all night, all the way till at least 6 in the morning. Be prepared to be checked on by members either of the probation office or law enforcement or both. They'll have a badge so you know you can safely open the door, but they will check on you at all hours of the night and morning to make sure that you are complying with that. So wherever you are staying, where are you staying currently? You got your own place, or are you in a sober house or St. Matt's? Okay, so you're staying with family? Do they understand they all just went on probation? Okay. Are all of them supportive of what you're trying to do here? Okay. And there's supportive and there's enabling. Supportive means they're going to have boundaries. They're going to be pushing you and moving you in the right direction, right? Good. All right, well, good. They may have their doorbell, excuse me, rung at all hours of the night, waking up the whole household. You need to make sure you can hear that door. Every now and then somebody says, oh, my room is out back, I can't hear the door. That will not be a good arrangement for you. So plan accordingly to respond to those calls. Your timing is good. Everything is essentially going fully normal as of the 1st of July. David Lawrence is already open. I've been told probation will go fully normal July 1. We'll be back in court the first Tuesday, will be July 6th, that you'll be in court with me here. And so again, you don't have to deal with too many COVID procedures. You're starting at a pretty good time here, which is nice. But they will be coming to your home and checking on you. They're also going to go through the home. They're going to make sure there's no alcohol or drugs or anything like that in there. So I don't know if there's anybody in the house that likes beer or wine, but it cannot be in the house. Okay. So if there's a 6-pack of beer in the refrigerator that everybody shares, that can cause you a problem. If they like beer and wine, they're going to need to get it from elsewhere or keep it elsewhere. All right. And probation can give you more information on that to make sure that the house is the way it needs to be. But we are very, very strict and we're very serious about that. Do you have any questions for me about that? Okay. So be prepared for them to come and check on you. Your probation officer has the authority to adjust that curfew as may be necessary. For example, if you take employment at a restaurant at night, then they're going to ask you to verify your schedule, and they will adjust the curfew according to your schedule for the nights that you work. The nights that you're not working, the schedule should be the 10 o'clock regular curfew. Keep the adjusted curfew just as strictly as you keep the regular curfew. And another point I often make on that is last second changes probably won't work. So if you do work in a restaurant and somebody calls you at 4 o'clock and says, we need you tonight, someone just called out sick. If that's not a night that was on your schedule, you're not going to be able to do it. So wrap your head around the fact you're going to plan ahead a little bit, get advance permission to make any adjustments that you'll need on that curfew. Okay. And probation will go over all of that with you and explain their process for that communication. You'll just follow what they tell you to do. Any questions on that? The next thing is meetings, which will really be up to David Lawrence Center, or what I sometimes refer to as treatment. Treatment is going to determine whether meetings are appropriate. They may suggest certain types of meetings. They'll give you the schedule of all the various availability. Right now, there's a lot more in person, but there is still some Zoom meeting going on. It's entirely up to treatment as to the how, the when, and the where. But what I will obligate you to do is follow their instructions. And if they give you sheets that they want you to write up truthful reactions to the meetings, okay, I went to this meeting, this was the topic, and this is the impact it had on me. You'll be obligated to do that truthfully. Believe it or not, we have meetings gate about once a year where we break wide open the fact that people are not always being honest on those. Don't be that guy, okay? So make sure that you are truthfully recording your meetings. And if you're having questions or difficulties, speak up to treatment, get that clarified so that you can be sure that you're compliant. Next is I probably have already done. Have you already met with them to get an assessment done? Yes. Okay, good. And so they should have an initial treatment plan sketched out for you. Your obligation is simply to follow all those recommendations. I also like to give you a heads up that that assessment is ongoing. They will continually redo that as you go through our program because your needs will change. And so they'll constantly be refining and adjusting that. And you will likewise just need to continue to follow whatever they instruct you to do. All right. I also like to give you the heads up that we are not just a drug program. We're going to try to take care of the whole Mr. Catton. It sounds, I have this much information so far, but it sounds like you've been suffering for a long time across a lot of state lines. And there may be some medical wreckage, there may be some mental health wreckage, in addition to the need for substance use treatment. We're going to try to help you address all of that, okay? So I don't play doctor, but if treatment makes a referral to another professional, likewise, that's part of your obligation to the court is to follow that up and see it through, okay? So we will be probably a little nosier than your average court, but it's all directed at your overall well-being. If you want to get clean, you're going to need to take care of the whole person. And that's really part of our philosophy. So treatment runs point on all of that. As long as you're complying with them, I'll stay out of the way. Okay. Next up is the sobriety rules. So you can't possess or consume any alcohol, can't have any alcohol in your home, can't go to any bars or places that primarily make their money from alcohol. You also can't possess or consume any drugs, any unapproved medications, or any mind-altering substances. You're going to be tested throughout your time with us to ensure your strict compliance with that. And I'm going to require that at a minimum, once per week by probation and once per week by David Lawrence Center. So there'll be at least those 2 times, but it will probably be quite a bit more frequent that you'll be tested. All right. Let me go back through the sobriety rule a little bit more detail. No alcohol, no drugs is pretty self-explanatory. But with medications, you said that you do currently take at least 1 prescription medication. And so we'll require you to disclose all of that, not to me, but probation and treatment will want information about what medications you're on. You will keep them updated constantly if any of that changes. And simply, we will require you to take it as directed. So we don't ever want you taking more or less than the doctor has prescribed. Don't let it run out if you're supposed to refill it and keep it going. Keep any and all follow-up appointments and so forth. All right. Never share your medication with someone else. Never take someone else's medication. That's a whole new felony. And then the other very big part of that is if someone outside of David Lawrence Center is proposing to start you on a prescription, you need to let your case manager know right away. All right. I even want to know about antibiotics for a head cold. We need to know everything that's going on so that we can coordinate care. So you may or may not know there are doctors in every town that might hand out Ritalin or Xanax or Oxycontin or any number of things if you go in and say the right things. That will not be okay, all right? We are going to be all up in your business. We're going to require you to sign releases so we can talk to that professional and verify that things are medically necessary, etc. It may very well be that they are. We will not block your care, I promise. But if something does need to be done, then we're gonna swoop in with a fair amount of structure and accountability so that you can stay on the path. Medical relapses are probably one of the most common things that happen, and we have really tried to regroup to ensure that we help protect our people from that. So that's our intention, but we will be very nosy, and any failure on your part to comply with turning over paperwork, signing releases, helping us get the information we need will be deemed a violation. So please, just communication and quick responses to any requests that our team makes. You're going to be just fine. Perfect. So you're already, yeah, I mean, you've been out of custody, so you've probably got a good head start on a few things. And that's great. So just keep us updated of any changes. Any medication coming from David Lawrence Center will have pretty good information, but always a good idea too, just to mention it to the case manager. Hey, they changed my medicine this morning at main campus. Now they've got me on such and such, because it really is relevant to the big picture of what you're trying to do. And all of us will be mindful. Again, I'm also not a pharmacist, but all of us will be mindful of what's going on and what your regimen for well-being entails. So keep us up to the minute on that. The final part of that was no mind-altering substances. That's a catch-all for everything else. And all of this is pretty well spelled out in the handbook, but I like to go over it. We intend to include all the designer drugs, things like spice, bath salts, and whatever they might invent tomorrow. Herbal stuff like kratom and kava, which are popular with folks who have an opioid use disorder. Those are legal in Florida so far, but out of bounds for you. And then things you can get at the grocery store, cough and cold medication frequently will have mind-altering ingredients. All of those things are out of bounds while you are on this probation, all the way up until I actually sign an order successfully completing the probation that I've just placed you on. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So please make sure that you're very strict with that. David Lawrence Center is going to give you a list of things that you can safely take for common ailments, aches, pains, head cold, allergies. They'll give you a list that you know is safe. And then beyond that, anything that you think you might want to purchase to consume, check with your case manager, pull it up on Google and look at the ingredients together to make sure it is not going to create a positive drug test for you, because if you consume it, we will hold you accountable. So saying, well, I didn't read it, or I didn't know, or my friend gave it to me and I didn't know what it was, that's a bad one, right? Never take something that you didn't unpack yourself. So be careful, use the case managers to ensure that you're not consuming any of those things that we've explained in the handbook. Any questions about any of that? Okay. I'm going to revoke your driving privilege for a period of 6 months because of the adjudication on the possession controlled substance. I'll indicate, Madam Clerk, that I have no objection to a work permit if you become eligible, but it sounds like you've got to clear up Washington first. We will try to help with that, and certainly I'm going to be encouraging you to try to clean up that bit of wreckage. Not overnight, but once you get your feet under you and you start to get a routine down, that'll be one of our probably medium range goals, okay? If it's easy, if it's just $100 and you're going to be good to go, then we'll make it a shorter term goal, but it might take a while.
Here's the thing with that. I've done the whole checklist, but since COVID up there,
Okay.
they're not doing a way to get the hearing for to get off the H2.
Okay.
I got a blow and go for months now. I paid $20 over fine. I've done everything. Like,
Okay.
I got full coverage. I'm waiting for that habitual hearing.
Okay.
And they said they would drop charges here, but I'm just to the point where I'm just going to take the no jail time and just get it over with.
Okay. That's entirely up to you and your lawyer there. If you need some help, we'll try to do what we can.
Unless I want to put it off, and then I didn't. I mean, it sounds like if you guys are if that's a goal, maybe I should put it off and we should just keep trying to go for it.
That's, again, between you and your lawyer, because I won't express an opinion on it. I simply, as a drug court judge, respect that a driver's license is critical to your life as a law-abiding citizen, which is what you are. And so we want to help you and we want to encourage you to get it. But by no means am I saying you should adjust whatever strategy you've got in your other case. That's between you and your lawyer. I simply want to encourage you to get it. And if there are things are much more useful to you locally, but occasionally if there's just some sort of administrative barrier or something with which I can help, I have sometimes done that, particularly if people are doing well and they're putting in the time on the program, then I'll try to help with those barriers. I don't have a lot of authority in Washington, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so be talking to your lawyer about that, and if there's something that you all think we can do, fine. If not, you may stick with plan A. All right, so I'll do the 6-month revocation, indicate no objection to a hardship. And then there's just some financial things, $100 cost of prosecution, $179.30 cost of defense, all mandatory court costs, and $635 cost of investigation to the sheriff. Do you have any questions about any of that? Okay, let me switch to the paperwork here. Most of this is just stuff that I have to sign. Okay. Mr. Darrow, the score sheet, I think Ms. Farrell articulated 44.6 points, 12.4 months on the low end and 5 years on the maximum. Is that what you reviewed? Okay. All right. And so this is a just barely below guidelines outcome, and I am guessing that is predicated on Mr. Catton's amenability to and appropriateness for our drug court program. All right, so I'll indicate that. And so translating that quickly, Mr. Catton, we should by law be sending you to prison for just over a year at least, on up to 5 years. We are not doing that because Florida law recognizes the power of drug court and allows us under certain circumstances like yours to duck below that minimum, give you a probation outcome so that you can do drug court. As long as you follow through with everything that I've ordered, we'll never talk about this score sheet again. And there's a distinct possibility you never see the inside of a jail or prison again. That's our goal. We share that goal with you. But you need to understand the score sheet hangs in the background while we do our work together. And that if you are brought back before me on a violation of probation, if the state attorney can successfully prove a willful, substantial violation, some points get added to this. You'd be probably up toward a year and a half or so minimum. And these penalties come back into play on up to 5 years. Do you understand how that works? My only point in telling you that is just to remind you that the stakes stay high all the way until I sign off on a termination of probation. So I can tell you've got a great attitude this morning. You're locked on, and hang on to that. Sometimes it gets a little bit easy to get complacent after you're 8-10 months down the road. You've been doing this for a long time. You haven't been in jail forever, and you forget you've got really, really high stakes. You don't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to do that, but I always mention it up front because I want you to know exactly how this goes. It's the same all the way through. Consistency will help.
The goal is, to be honest, like, is to knock this out in less than 2 years. You know, because you can apply, right, after a year and a half or so.
It's a good question. The way it's set up, and this is in the handbook, you got 4 years today. The fastest that you could finish the probation is generally 2 years. Okay. If you're doing great, you can wrap up the in-court portion with me in 12 months. And from that date that we move you on, we start a 12-month clock where you're just on probation. You also have treatment support for part of that. Treatment will eventually drop off and you'll just have probation. But generally at the 1-year anniversary of your moving on, you would be eligible to send me a letter and say, okay, Judge, I think I'm ready. You've got everything paid, everything complete. You've stayed out of trouble. And then that's when I would be able to grant you the termination. That's when this score sheet would finally be done. And you'd be fully on your own.
Just with another year of probation.
When I terminate the probation, you'd be off probation. That's at the 2-year mark. So somewhere between 2 and 4 years is what you're looking at. It won't be any more than 4, but it won't be any less than 2. You okay with that? Okay. This is your drug court contract, 2 pages. Looks like you signed it this morning. Did you go over this carefully with your attorney? Did you understand what you were agreeing to when you signed it? Any questions for him or for me about the contract or anything else we've discussed? Are you comfortable that you can do everything that we've set forth here? Okay. And we're confident you can do it. We're going to give you a ton of help. And every once in a while, we had one, just last week, pled in, took off, and you go, you just made things so much harder. She should have just pled out, right? So I always want to make sure, one last second gut check, you're not setting yourself up for something you can't do. Good. And then I just also want to make sure the contract says what we think it does. Paragraph 3 is where the state attorney has made a promise back to you. She's indicated that when you successfully complete drug court, as well as that 1 year of aftercare and probation, you've got everything paid. That's when you can petition for early termination of the probation. That would be at the 2-year mark. And when I grant that, the state attorney agrees that'll end your obligation to the court from this case. And again, that score sheet will finally go away, and you will have avoided the inside of a jail or prison on these charges. More importantly, hopefully by that point, you will have put together something that you can enjoy and that'll keep you healthy and safe. We're excited to bring you into that. So I'll sign off on the contract then. I've got just a couple more orders. One that sets your probation fees at 0 for that first year while you're in court with me. That'll free up some money for treatment, driver's licenses, and other immediate needs. The second year, you'll be paying supervision fees. Okay, they'll pick up then. And then in order to share limited healthcare information, treatment will share with us only the most basic things so we can verify compliance. He's showing up, he's participating, his drug test is negative, his drug test is positive for this substance. We will never know, we never need to know what you discuss with them. That stays between you and treatment. We simply get basic healthcare information to assure compliance. And as a team, we'll keep that confidential from the rest of the world. Okay, so those are the boundaries that you will get from us. I don't have a release order because you're out on bond. I'll tender all of this to the clerk. Any questions about any of that? Just a couple more things then. One is just some manners rules. And again, I don't expect any difficulty from you, but we're getting ready to be back in person for everything, and that's going to be a big help. Zoom has been tricky for folks. Some folks are wanting to lie in bed, they want to play with the dog, they're eating and drinking. You really shouldn't be doing anything in court or in treatment that you would not be doing right now in the courtroom with the judge on the bench. This is how I want you to behave, even when you're over at David Lawrence Center, and certainly when you're in court with me. You're not fiddling with your phone. In fact, when you show up at treatment or at court, we'll get back into the habit of we just take the phones and put them up in the front of the room so they're not distracting anybody. We want your full attention. When you step into that space or this space, everybody's going to school on everybody. Everybody's trying to learn from each other's struggles and from each other's triumphs. And so your attention, your focus, and your respect is what we demand from each person. So you'll be showing respect for yourself, for each other, and for the rest of the team. So no phones, no talking, appropriate attire. You're dressed fine. Nothing doesn't have to be fancy, but we stay away from shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops and that sort of thing. We'll also tighten that back up because Zoom's gotten a little bit lax on that. That's all in the handbook, and David Lawrence Center should go over that with you. But those are really just sort of the manners rules that, drug court is a privilege, and you will learn that everybody on this team is quite proud to be a part of it. And I think I can speak safely for the men and women in the program. They are also quite proud to be a part of it. So it's part of just carrying yourself as a man in recovery and as a man who deserves respect. Okay. And then the last thing, really the only thing that I need you to remember from all the hundreds of things I've told you today is this. We really only have one just absolute that we're going to place upon you, and that's honesty. It runs throughout our handbook, so you've been reading about it. We may have some short-term goals, long-term goals, and some medium-term goals. Honesty is a goal today. It is a requirement today, and the good news is you're capable of that today. So the way I look at honesty is from two different angles. On the front end, I think about preventing problems. What do you need to share with a member of the team in order to head off a problem that could happen? Are you stressed? Are you struggling with old friends? Are you having a hard time finding a job? Is your family giving you a hard time in your housing? Are you having cravings? Do you want to use? All of those things are the things that you can and should share freely with members of the team. You don't have to share it in open court with me, but the folks at David Lawrence Center or probation, we've also got a law enforcement officer on our team who's out and about. Any member of this team at any time can be accessed to help you deal with something that could cause you a problem. That's our job, okay? So speak up. We're really good at solving problems, but we're not psychic. So you got to clue us in on what's going on, and then you'll have whatever help we can muster to try to help you avoid that stressor turning into an actual problem. Are you aware of medication-assisted treatment? Do you know about methadone, buprenorphine, and naltrexone, 3 FDA-approved medications that can assist with not just cravings, although they're best known for cravings, but also can help with a lot of the other side effects of new sobriety, irritability, mood swings, trouble sleeping, nerves, all that kind of thing. So if any of what I've just described is going on for you, talk to treatment about getting yourself some more information. I do not force that medication on anyone, but I do try to make it a point when we have these conversations to express the fact that I'm very supportive of it. You don't lose any points or gain any points, but my philosophy is this: use every tool in the toolbox if it works for you, if it makes sense for you. At least you owe it to yourself to educate yourself a little bit about how does it work, what is it, what are the upsides, what are the downsides. Okay. Okay. Okay, good, excellent. We have no difficulty with that. The key is this, and we make this point in the handbook too. You simply have to follow the appropriate protocols, okay? You get Suboxone from David Lawrence Center, you take it the way it's prescribed, you follow up with the doctor, etc. You get it on the street, you have a violation of probation. Same drug, but you've got to go through the proper channels. So as long as you're following the procedures, all 3 drugs are available and permitted. You just need to make sure that you are tagging the bases. I'm glad to hear that you are getting some support and that you feel that it's been helpful to you. Methadone. Okay, that's fine. We've got other folks there. And that's absolutely fine. And as you get deeper into things with us, then that'll be something that you in treatment just continually reassess. You will not get any pressure from me to stop that or to do anything, okay? Everybody on this team's been fairly exhaustively trained on that medication, and we're gonna follow the procedures that are taught to us, which is that's between you and your provider. Your job is follow all the rules the provider gives. If you're following their rules, you're square with me, okay? You get it on the street, you take more of it than you're supposed to, those are where you'll start to get tripped up with me, all right? So I'm glad that you're taking advantage of that, and honesty about any of these things, again, doesn't mean you have to say it in court, but to the team, you need to be speaking up about whatever's going on for you so that we can help. And then on the back end, if there actually is a problem, if you mess up one of these 10,000 rules I just explained, if you have any kind of you forget to do something, you miss something, if you pick up and you use, you got to own it right away. You got to let us know right away. Prompt and complete honesty is the key to success here. So if, heaven forbid, you suffer a relapse on a Tuesday night, you need to be calling your case manager first thing Wednesday morning. I need help. I used last night. Here's what happened. Okay? If you do that, you'll stay in those clothes, sleeping in your own bed. Treatment will address the relapse. They may have additional support that they want to bring in place for you, but I will not pull you into the jail if you are fully and promptly honest. Okay? Let that sink in. You've been on probation before. You know, in regular probation, it's duck and hope it blows over. That is the absolute worst way to try to get through drug court. Okay? For one thing, we're going to test you so often, there is no blowing over. And we do that in part, not because we really, really like catching people. We do that so your mind doesn't go to the races. Your mind, as soon as you start to think about using, your mind's going to say, yeah, but I'm going to get tested in the morning, so that's not going to work. And it helps you, frankly, to relax. If you start to worry that you're not going to get tested, that's where this starts to eat you from the inside out. So we have a lot of structure and a lot of accountability in the name of trying to give you the support you need to stay on the path. But you've got to be honest with us. Don't wait for us to hand you a drug test. Don't wait for us to get the drug test back. Delayed honesty is definitely better than no honesty, okay? But if you make a mistake, that first thought's going to be panic. It's going to be, something not smart. Wait it out. Give yourself a moment. Wait for the next thought to enter in, which is probably going to be, I need to call my case manager, okay? And that is, I'm proud to say we've got people who do that successfully all the time. But you saw on the monitor, I took a violation of probation from a young man. He's not in the jail because he relapsed. It's an honesty thing. Nobody's in that jail for a relapse, despite how they may decide to tell the story. They're in there because they weren't honest with us. The folks who are honest with us, you're going to see them in David Lawrence Center. They're not perfect. They're making mistakes, but they're owning them and they're staying on the path. And that's where drug court does its best work. So if you can, normally I've got 3-4 more nights in jail and I take a plea on a Thursday because you get out on a Monday, you're already out. And so you'll have to really, hopefully, since you read the handbook, you've already been wrapping your head around that. One final point since you've been out. You are on probation as of now, okay? You will not be violated for anything that you may have done prior to coming on probation. But I do very, very strongly urge you to make sure that probation and treatment are aware if you have consumed anything prior to this point, all right? So that they can adjust treatment accordingly and they can know what's going on. If you have not used in 60 days, that is one sort of treatment plan. If you haven't used in 6 hours, that's a different treatment plan. So you're ripping yourself off if you're not being honest with them. You don't owe me an explanation, but they need to know exactly where you are as you step onto drug court today so that they can adjust accordingly. All right. Any questions about any of that? Okay. All right. Anything else from either counsel? Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Okay. Every Tuesday afternoon. Yep. And so it's going to be 1 Alpha. We're in 1 Charlie. 1 Alpha's around the corner. I believe we're going to be back in 1 Alpha. And that'll start July 6th. So for, what do we have, 2 Tuesdays between now and then? We'll be on Zoom for the first 2 weeks that you're with us, and then in person by the 3rd week. And your case manager can help ensure that you have what you need for Zoom. If you got one of these, you're good to go. But while you're in court or in treatment by Zoom, no calls, no texts, put it on airplane mode so that you can focus and just be on the video call, okay? Other questions? Okay, well, I'm thrilled to welcome you to drug court. I will see you on Tuesday afternoon by Zoom. So I'm glad I got to meet you in person. I'll remind you on Tuesday, but we've got one of the things that we do in the community here is we get out and we volunteer with the local running club. And they've got a race Saturday, July 3rd. So I'll be saying this again next week. But a bunch of the folks from drug court are going to come out. Some are going to walk it or run it. Probably the majority are going to volunteer, pass out water, cut up oranges and bananas, that kind of thing. So if you're at all interested, put it in the back of your mind and come out and be a part of that. Your case manager will probably mention it to you as well. And speaking of case managers, let me just check. I've got chat. Okay, Mr. Monplaisy says you're going to go from here to probation across the street. Do you know where that is? You know where it is?
Yeah. I
Um,
came down on Interstate Compact
Okay,
in Washington, so I was on parole with them
okay.
for a year.
Are they gonna be pulling you back to Washington?
No.
Okay,
I finished that
okay, so that's closed.
without a violation.
So you'll go across to probation, and then they want you to go right up to David Lawrence Center. It's 11 now, and they're looking at like 1 p.m. for you to be up there. Yeah. So, and if you're jammed up at probation, if they're running late, just see if probation can let David Lawrence Center know what's going on. We generally talk to each other all day, every day. But ideally, they're going to be looking for you at 1 o'clock. Have you got the ability to get around? I know you don't have a driver's license, so.
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Okay.
I live downtown, kind of, so it's all within the area.
Okay.
I'll be okay.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, this is sort of the power end of the county, right? You got David Lawrence, and you got probation and the courts, and a lot of services sort of concentrated on this side of town. So that's good. Okay, wonderful. Then you're all set. I'm going to let them take your fingerprints. I'm going to review your judgment. I'll look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Yep, it's good. Oh, I wish I could do it, but I can't. So if you can just scroll down. It slid back up for, I just need to see count 2. There we go. Okay, good. I approve. Did you all figure out anything for Ms. Muzenga?
I think that we're gonna have to just reschedule it from today. I didn't know, that's what I'm wondering, if we find out that everything's clear, if maybe we could put her on a special
I can
docket.
try to figure it out. If you two are able, I can try to figure it out. So.
Right now, we're gonna be in a holding pattern, I would think, at least for a week or 2.
Okay.
So it may, I hate it, but I can't think of what else we can do.
Yeah.
Because we can't, under the current situations, as I understand it,